We are live. I'm looking up. These glasses suck. I need to get some new glasses. These glasses really suck. But anyway, what's up? In this Libby, Save With Your Legs Media. And we are here today to talk about Patty Roubaix. Patty Roubaix. And the race we just witnessed. Apologies for my voice. No, I haven't been shouting all day. Just some stuff that my body's just trying to get rid of. We're not quite through it yet, but we are getting there. And I'm on some medication which I didn't take this morning. I just got so caught up in the races. Everything kicked off at 9:30. Obviously they were showing the race from kilometer zero. So basically, I got up. I did all the things that I planned to do, but I didn't do the things that is necessary for looking after my body, like like taking my medication on time. Um, yeah, and I got to do that for at least until. So I'm gonna sound a little, a little, like coughing. It sounded better now, but yeah, that's how it's going to be. Anyway, in this little Say With Your Legs Media, and in this format, I can't bring you any video, but in coming months, leading up to like the Tour de France and stuff, I'll be able to bring you video and talk through the races, each race, through the race, like kilometer by kilometer. But it was a really interesting day today. They showed the race from kilometer zero. Now, I have a bone to pick with the UCI, the is it UCI, the Flanders, and the is it Flanders? I think it's Flanders, and the ASO. They're the ones that run all the races. Now, yesterday the women's Roubaix was amazing. It was super exciting. I was glad I got to see it. But they didn't start the women's race until they got to the cobble. So we didn't see the first 50 kilometers. We didn't see the build up until, they got to the kilometers. The cobbles, which was not cool really, because you showed the men's race today from kilometer zero. Actually, before the kilometer zero, you even showed when they left the line and the procession, like where it is neutralized before they actually start the race. And I think something needs to be done about that. So I mean, the women's racing is in some aspects it's just as exciting in the men's race, and I can't understand why. I Kamalisha, I can't understand why you can't give the women the same coverage, you know, and then so like it doesn't make sense because they have sponsors, they have people who put up lots of money and there's people who want to get a return on their investment. So how if they can't maximize their investment, and how the teams get their return is by showing up at races, is by getting TV time. And if you're giving the ladies half the TV time that you give the men, come on now, and then we want the sport to grow. In order for the sport to grow, especially with the women, we got to, do better. And then, like, I would like to see the ladies starting from a little earlier, especially on the TV, especially the bigger races, like the Roubaix Femmes. It's only right. But anyway, that off my chest. I wish I could get this other thing off my chest. Well, let's get on with it. Today, Paris Roubaix started, like I said, they started from kilometer zero, and the young men and Brumison took off right from the gun and got things started. It took a little while for the breakaway to get going, but when the breakaway did get going, it got about like a 3 minute gap, and they let the 3 minutes stay, but they were steady. The big teams were coming to the front to keep the pace honest to where there are people uh, up until that inaugural couple section. Then when they did get to the couple section, then the teams like riders like Mads Peterson, right from the gun, wasn't playing, just went to the front and was like this, putting the hammer down. It's like, wanted to get rid of all of the people that shouldn't be there, or who's going to get in the way, or who, I guess Meds felt wasn't going to be in contention, and just set the precedent for the race from jump. So from the first couple section is sector 30, and then the big turning points of the race is when they get to sector 19. That's the Ardenberg Forest. So you have essentially 11 sectors where like sorting out. The sectors are not as hard as after 19, but they are still tough, and it usually whittles the field down. And it did. It did whittle the field down to about maybe 50 riders. So by the time they got to the Ardenberg Forest, and plus they had a new entry into the Ardenberg Forest as well. They had a new entry into the Ardenberg Forest, which made it whole lot safer entering into the Arnberg Forest, because I think the major problem was coming into the Arnberg Forest was like they came off of a hill, and the Arnberg Forest, some of the cobbles was like behind me. That is like a picture of like part of the nicer part of the forest, but they're coming down off of a hill and they are flying. I mean, they are flying, and to hit these really rough cobbles that they've been doing for years, it's just totally insane on the bikes. There were tons of accidents, always punches and flats. It was just too much for the bikes. So they had to change it to make it safer. So they did that. They made a deviation where they made a left, made a right, uh, then made a right, and then made a left onto the couple section, the armor couple section. And it was good. It worked out well. There was and there was no kerfuffle, but there were a couple riders that did lose tires, get flat, because the Arenberg Forest, I mean, it has some of the most treacherous and horrible cobbles ever sections, So yeah, but they got to the Arenberg Forest. Once they got in the Arenberg Forest, um, Matthew Van Der Poel, Tadej Pogacar, Mads Pedersen, and even what went to the front and were turning up the pace, and it looked like it was going to be the big four that was going to be duking it out. But by the end of the Altenberg Forest, Matthew put in a big attack coming out of the forest, and basically sort of like that's what tore the group apart, because everyone was looking around for Pogacar to chase. So Pogacar didn't really chase right away, but when he did chase, he, in him up in the tempo to close that gap, it just split everything up. And then when you look, it was like a five rider break, which was all of the well, not all the only person missing from that break was Walt Bernard. So you had Mads Peterson, Matthew Van Der Poel, Tadej Pogacar, Jesper Philipsen, and Bessinger, and they were the break, and they got away, and they rolled away. But the crazy thing was Tadej Pogacar. Like, he looked like he was distressing, and he put his hands up and everything, and the commentators, all of the commentators, live commentators, oh no, Tadej Pogacar's cramping and this and that, and then I just said, okay, well, yeah, it looks like he might be cramping and stuff. So, but then when I saw him later, a few couple seconds later, putting down the hammer, and like I was like saying to myself, it's like everyone, to me, like everyone fell for the bluff, and I think this was his one opportunity to play that card that he played today. And because when you watch Pogacar when he attacked, he was dropping Vanderpool. Vanderpool was struggling to stay on his wheel when Pogacar was putting the hammer down on the couple sections. I mean, he really had the speed, but his speed actually got him in trouble. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But the speed. So yeah. So what I was mentioning was that everyone, like, because Pogacar called for his car, put his hands up. They came. They gave him some stuff. He had a drink of it, and then looked like, okay, yeah, he got his whatever he needed, and he's going to be okay. But I think that was a bluff. I think I never ever want to play cards with Tadej Pogacar, because I think that was the biggest and the best bluff. And I was like, is Tadej really in trouble? Is he, really hurting? Because this is nothing. This, like, for as hard as the races as he's done, this is not that. Not it's right up there with some of the harder races he's done. And I was just like, he was giving the faces. He was like, just everything, like shaking his leg out, and then everything, and it worked, because and even to a point where, like, Peterson, Jasper Philipsen, and Matthew, and they weren't attacking; they were just rolling through. with Vanderpool, Red Bull is the real goat. You might be right, but like they weren't rolling through. It was like they were trying to assess whether Tadej Pogacar was really in trouble. Was he really, you know, uh, suffering? Is cramping up, and they we just couldn't tell. Just couldn't tell. And then when Pogacar started to attack, and I just like it just looked to me like he was playing that card. He was playing the card. This is a one opportunity. Like I said, this is a one chance he has to, because he hasn't done Roubaix before. So he's going to get some type of grace from the other riders and somebody who doesn't know. And it's like, oh, he's probably hurting. He's probably suffering. And then, yeah, let's feel sorry for him. But I think that was a boss move, because when he did put down the attacks, if you watch back, Vanderpool was in trouble. Vanderpool was in trouble because those attacks were tough. Those attacks were hard. And how we know those attacks were hard and Vanderpool was just hanging on was because when he did get away and he got the gap because the Pogacar crashed. So how did Pogacar crash? Pogacar was just horsing it. Was it on the carrier four? No, it wasn't on the carrier four. It was just before the carrier four. I believe it was on sector 9. I can't remember the name of the sector, but he just went into the corner too hot. And Vanderpool had it checked and backed off. And Vanderpool said he's lucky he didn't get caught, following him as well. And he was able to get through. But Pogacar, if he would have just rolled off into the grass, it would have been cool. But the mud and everything was deep, so it grabbed his front wheel and he flipped over, got tangled in the bike. Then he had to get off the bike. Then the car had to stop, put him back on the bike, give him a push to get him back going and stuff. And that's basically where Pogacar lost the race. That just in that moment, because even though I feel like he was a little bit stronger than Matthew Van Der Poel, he was a little stronger, not much. So, and just that. So once that gap opened up, he closed it. He chased back. He got to like 17 seconds, but he still wasn't able to close the gap entirely. And then he had an issue with the bike, and he had to change bikes. And then it went from 17 seconds right back out to 46 seconds. Because it creeped up from 17 seconds to 26 seconds. So when it was creeping up, he was having a problem or having an issue. And when he realized he was having an issue, then he called for another bike. He got another bike, and then once he got the other bike, he just went 47 seconds. Then it went to a minute, and then I think he finished like a minute and 12 behind. But it was a valiant effort. But also, if you need to look, I don't know what type of watch it is, but he has a really nice, expensive watch, and I'm pretty sure he won't make that mistake next year. But he wore his watch. Because the watch was like doing this on his arm, it actually cut him right there. And I was also thinking, like in something as like intense as like today was, the last thing you want to be losing is blood. He didn't lose a lot, but it's still, you don't want to be losing any type of blood. And then like the watch cut his wrist, and if you probably see pictures of it, I might post something on Instagram, like just a little snippet of it. It's so much stuff happened today. But then you had Mads Peterson and Walt Van Aert, and Walt Van Aert just was not in the picture today. I mean, he showed up on the Arenberg Forest like he was going to do something, but that was it. He just like it, that was it. He just when Vanderpool attacked out of the Ardenberg Forest on the road, then that was basically it. We didn't see we didn't see we didn't see Vanderpool anymore. And yeah, and from then on he was just chasing. And then Mads was in the group looking good, and then Mads Peterson flatted, so that put him out of the picture. So then he ended up back in the group with Walt Van Aert, and then he was ended up chasing and got to the velodrome. And when they got to the velodrome, he was there duking it out for third place with Wolf Van Aert and I think it's Florian from UAE. I was hoping UAE would get the third place so they could get the second and third, but they didn't. So, but yeah, so Mads got on the podium as you see. So he did get beat out by Philipsen last year as well. So I think it was third place from last year as well. So it is what it is. This is like the one race that everybody wants to. And these guys are so competitive. They're so like driven that nothing less than a win would do. But I think Tade was happy with this because this was an unknown factor for him. But if you look at Tade's face in this picture, he looks rather like this race beat him up. Like he came out looking like an old man. I mean, that is one tough. I've ridden sectors 19 to sack all the way through all the sectors from 19 to the velodrome, and that was tough. I broke a spoke, but yeah, I was still able to carry on and finish riding from the Outerberg Forest all the way through. But I think next year what we're doing is we're gonna go down maybe a week or two early, and we're gonna do all of the sectors from 30 all the way through to the velodrome. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed that like recap. I just can't believe like the race was like super super excited, uh, just over the moon at how it turned out, and I'm pretty sure all of the fans were pretty excited. And talking about fans, so to the person that threw the bottle at Matthew Vanderpool, I really just don't get people, man. I just don't understand. I really don't understand. I really don't understand why would you throw something at one of the riders, man. And the thing is, like people like Matthew Vanderpool, they do mostly what they do for the fans. Whether you're a fan of another team or you're a fan of Matthew Vanderpool, these guys do this for the fans, no matter who you support. You know, I've seen fans go up to the different riders. Somebody rides for like little track, and the kid will come up in a picnic postal jersey, and the riders don't they don't care too. That don't matter. A fan's a fan. So what? And you give the kid the autograph just because he's wearing a different jersey. You don't be weird to him. So that's what I'm talking about. The adults, man. The adults. I don't get it. I just do not get it. Why someone would throw a bottle at Matthew Vanderpool and it hit him in the face. It's not like it just hit him. They threw the bottle and they caught it perfectly and it hit him in the face. So for the life of me, I hope that person gets caught. I hope that person gets caught and they get punished and they get put on Front Street because that was, man, it's so much stuff that could happen. I mean, at the speed that Matthew was going, when something like that happens, you usually, if you lose control because your sensories are trying to figure out what's going on. Like in a regular crash, you're looking to where you're going to crash, so you're going to roll or whatever, whatever. But when something like that happens, you usually close your eyes, and the worst can happen. I mean, the worst can happen, and we just don't need that. We don't need to see the riders have enough to ride against as it is. It's dangerous enough as it is to have to worry about dumb people, dumb people on the sidelines. So yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, that's been me and how long has that been? How long have we been here? We've been here for 18, going on for 20 minutes. But like I said, this is initially be. If you can, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, and we will probably be back again in a few days for whenever the next big race is. And just really quickly, just in case you're wondering, so Vanderpool was first, Pogacar was second, Mads Peterson and Derek Wolf was able to come in for fourth place, and it was Florian Ramesh. That's I was right. Was the top five. Other notable riders, Jasper Philipsen ended up finishing in 11th. Filippo Ganna was in 13th. The man Biniam May finished in the top 20, finished in 15th place, his first Paris-Roubaix. So well done to Biniam May. Any other names that we can? So yeah. So those are the big names and where they finished. And yeah, it was a hell of a day. The hell of the North. They call it the hell of the North. It was a hell of a day. And let's see what races are coming up later in the week. Do we have so obviously that was Paris Roubaix today. So the next big one is Amstel Gold. So that's 4/13. So 7 days is the next monument. So Amstel Gold, which is a more of a climate race. And I think Pogacar is doing that. And then there's Flash Wallon after, but he's not doing Flash Wallon. He's just doing Amstel Gold. So that's a race he could possibly win. It's got a lot of climate, but it's got a really long like finish straight. So in order for him to win that, he has to win it in the hilly climate part, and that's a pretty exciting race. I did get to see that. That's an amazing race. Trying to see if there are any races coming up this week. So I have to go to the Discovery Channel and see what races they have for viewing in the lineup, and go to sports, cycling, upcoming tour of Abruzzo, 31. 15, 4, it says 4:15, what's today's date? So in 2 days' time, so Monday, Tuesday. So I guess it'll be like a day off tomorrow, and then stage one of the Tour Abruzzo. It's on Tuesday. So check out Pro Cycling Stats. That's where I do my thing, my like fantasy cycling on Pro Cycling Stats. They have quizzes and everything. You also should subscribe to Pro Cycling Stats. So I would definitely be subscribing to Pro Cycling Stats. And yeah, so I think that's about it. And until I get my computer and things sorted out, I'll be just doing it just like this. So I would like to go live and obviously show a bit more, like show some footage and stuff, but you can't show like any footage in this format. Anyway, in Sleepy, say with your legs media. I appreciate you, and until the next one.